Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the World Series edition of Fourth and Go. We're going on a Thursday night. I know we're one day off, but winning Wednesdays happen. Guess what? Thursdays are Thirsty Thursdays. That's right. I'm Dave Gleckner. That's Marc Tomasini. What's up, bud? It's a celebration. I can't wait. We're one.
What up? What up? We're in the World Series. I'm telling you, 2 weeks ago, I didn't think this was possible. Everything that's happened is storybook. It's amazing. I hope we finish this off. I really do. Be one of the most incredible runs ever. I mean, there's so much to get into, but I mean, the excitement right now around this team, we're buzzing like bees,
I love that term, storybook, because it does feel like that. I got a couple storybooks behind me, some of the Eagles, some of the Phillies. Let me just start before we get into what happened in that San Diego series and kind of where we're headed into the World Series. I was born almost 40, a little over 40 years ago, early. Nothing happened that I remember when they won in 80. That didn't even count. Like, I was nothing. So I had to fight for all those years, those 28 years. When the Phillies won it in 08, I was, I wasn't even 30 yet. And it was just an awesome time, a wonderful time in the world. Got to go to every game, and they broke that streak. And an epiphany came out today, Mark, and I wanted to talk to you about this. They won in 08. Eagles break the curse in 17. You can call it 18 because it's January 18th, whatever you want to call it. Where are the Sixers and Flyers in all this? Because I'm seeing Kelsey go to these games, and I have seen a little Embiid, but I'm seeing, a good correlation between the partners across the street. I've never really seen a Flyers or Sixers championship. And here we are, the Phillies, the losingest franchise in the history of the MLB, about to go on a path for maybe their third in 40 years. It's not that bad. Like, it's pretty cool that the Phillies, this team, they hadn't made the playoffs in 11 years. And they're on the precipice of winning 2 championships in 14. That's like, for a team that gets beat up so much.
Yeah.
I just love this. There's something about it. Like, the Flyers are obviously one of the more loved teams in the NHL. The Sixers, a very historic team in the NBA. But here we are, the Phillies. Oh, man, it just feels cool. If we win 3 championships since 08 and Phillies are 2 of them, I don't know. It's something cool about it.
No, I agree. It's interesting because, we talk about the Phillies being beat up, and they had that run. And if you ask me, and if you ask most people in Philadelphia, they really missed their opportunity with that run. Obviously, we won a World Series. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But 09
could have won more.
A-Rod was probably on the roids then,
But it wasn't that like Cliff Lee won that game 1 so easy. Like,
right.
We got this. But the depth of this,
the thing is, like, 09, we were right there. 10, we should have done better. I mean, Cody Ross beat us. The Giants beat us. 11, we were one of the best. We were the best team in baseball, and we lose in the first round
to a team we shouldn't have let in. We should
have exactly.
Yeah.
And Halladay pitches almost a perfect game besides giving up a run in the first inning. I mean, he was magnificent, and we lost the opportunity. And then Howard tears his Achilles, and it's done. And I mean, just like that, it was over. Like, in that moment, we went from being a team that was on 5 straight playoff runs to back to the bottom of the basement. Obviously not as bad as the Marlins, but then you go all this way, and we get to around 2019, and we're thinking that things are going together. We get Bryce Harper, and we cannot. Our bullpen is terrible. We can't do anything else. Nobody else is playing besides Harper, and we blow it each year. We have an opportunity to be in the playoffs each year. I mean, in 2020, the shortened season, we had 32 blown saves in 60 games, something like that. I mean, absolutely unreal.
Yes.
Well, the worst bullpen in MLB history.
It was.
And for it to be, and then we go all in this year. We get Schwarber, we get Castellanos, and to have the start that we did, it goes terrible. Fire Girardi, And then it just all comes together. And then they almost lose it again. They almost fell out of the playoffs. And then they get in and do what they're doing right now. I mean, it's a tale of two cities. It's a tale of two teams. And the fact that we're here, I'm telling you, 2 weeks ago, I didn't think this was even remotely possible. Like, I thought we had a chance to get past St. Louis. I thought Atlanta was going to beat us.
No,
and now I'm thinking we have a legit shot at beating the Astros the way that they're playing.
And I know it's a little bit, I don't even want to use the word hyperbole, but it was a little like there could have been some homerism in it. I get it.
Sure.
But we did pick them to beat the Braves. Granted, we were on the air when it was 1-1, and they were coming back here, right? And we did pick them to beat the Padres. So when you pick them by series, and you see the momentum, I don't think we're as surprised because we understand what that home field advantage is.
Yeah.
And it was like that in 08, and it was like that in 09. The problem with 09 was we didn't have a lot of confidence in Cole Hamels, and we didn't have a lot of confidence in the bullpen, and he didn't have confidence in himself. And then, behind Hamels, you had Cliff Lee just bowling, man. We won his 2 starts. I remember going to the game, sitting third baseline, him winning game 5 for us so we could get to game 6. The Pedro Cole Hamels experience just, it wasn't good. I mean, Pedro lost 2 games to Hideki Matsui. But you're right. They probably should have won 1 more in that stretch. And that little chasm that you talk about from 12 to 19 before Harper arrived again was all our own undoing. It was rewarding the players for what they were in 07, 08, 09, 10, and get it, right? We were so high on ourselves. And that's what I get back to with 08. Like, we starved. We starved for 28 years. I didn't know any other way. I starved at that time for everything. Like, every year hurt more and more. The Eagles had lost 5 NFC championships and a Super Bowl. We couldn't. And that just meant so much that overpaying for those players at that time was right. Yeah. And people will not say that. They'll say, oh, you're screwed. How do you know? How do you know you to say world fucking champions, like Chase Utley said, meant something?
Right.
How many people showed up to that parade? How many people, they had to go to the link and then to the bank because they didn't have enough tickets to get people in these places. That's how much it meant to Philadelphia. And to overpay for those guys, we paid the price. We paid the price for 7 years until the new chosen one came. And you're right. Harper changed everything. And it wasn't going to happen overnight. It wasn't. It was going to take some time. You know one thing I want to say about Harper? I always believed he was true Philly. Always. And I believed he bought in. I believed once he got committed here, he bought in. And I think that's what showed over these past playoffs. I think people that doubted him, not just for his play, but for just saying, oh, he took the money. I don't think it was as much the case. He really did 13 years want to be somewhere. Don't you agree?
Well, so the moment that I remember I always could not stand Bryce Harper. I knew he was a good player, but you play against him.
That's a good thing.
And you could not stand him. I couldn't take him. I was just like, God, he's insufferable. And then about a year or 2 before that free agency, I said, I have a feeling in my gut. I was like, I have a feeling that we're going to be going after him. And I have a feeling that he's coming here. I really do. So I better get on board now. I remember his last full year, in Washington, I was like, I'm not going to shit on him as much as I want to because he might be in pinstripes someday. Yep. Well, behold, he was. But with that being said, the moment that solidified it for me, obviously I was excited when he signed and there was all the rumors going around. But the fact that he put a no trade clause in, that was it. I know you said the 13 years, but at that time, I think Arenado got a new deal with the Rockies. There were a couple other players like Goldschmidt. I don't know if he was a trade clause guy, but
Machado
trade clauses, right? They all were putting trade clauses in after year 3. That's your easy, look, I'm gonna give my all for these 3 years, and if if it's not working for me, I'm out. I'm gonna force my way out. And Bryce is like, no, I don't want that option. I don't want them to trade me, and I don't want to leave. I actually, if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to set my family up there. I'm just going to do it. And the way that I think Washington treated him, I think he was like, no, I want to be somewhere where somebody wants me, and I'm going to give them my all. And yes, it took a while. Honestly, he won the MVP last year, and obviously we're all excited about that. But what he's done in these matter of 2 weeks beat everything that he did last year by millions. I mean, we're paying. You're talking about overpaying now. $330. It's the going rate, and we see guys are getting paid more right now. It's worth it. It's worth it. And Middleton even said we may have underpaid you. Like it's crazy just because you needed that burst to get us to where we are, and he put the team on his back, and everybody has stepped up. But I mean, the home run the other day is just absolutely incredible and a thing of legend.
Legend. We'll get into that, but I will say this much to the point you made about what they're paying him and where he's at right now. Underpaid, whatever you want to call it. I will tell you this much. This playoffs, he's already made his money. Yep. For the rest of the way through, he is a Philly legend. Even if they don't come home, which we'll get there. Even if they don't come home with the title, I mean, this is like better than what Chase Utley was in 2009 when he hit those 3 or 4 homers in the World Series. This is stuff like they showed some slash lines that he's had. Nobody's seen these numbers since at least 2004, since the playoffs expanded. Like this is remarkable, incredible. This is putting a team on your back, being clutch. And I use back as a term only from the sense that Reese has been, was great in this series.
Other guys have stepped up.
Was great. Yep. Wheeler, Nola. You can't win with just one, but all I really wanted to get at before we get into the breakdown of the Padres series and going forward with the Astros is I was down in Washington, D.C. today. I had to travel down there last night. And where I work, I stayed next to the Nationals Park, CBP South. And I got to walk around today and look at it and just it almost made me think like I'm here for a reason today, to just remind me why Bryce came to Philly. That's a transient area that, they'll come when they're playing well. They absolutely when they won in 19, no doubt about it. Things were good in Washington, but that's not a baseball town. There's suits and ties a lot from around there. It's a cleared out area that used to be a troublesome area. And I could see why Bryce Harper wanted to grow his roots and sink his cleats into a city that did care about baseball. Now, the first few years, 19, 20, 21, you might have shook your head. And it was COVID's in the middle of it. He knew he came to a baseball town, but can I really make it a baseball town? And I'll end with this thought before we get into all that. And I'll let you also comment on it is it's a baseball town. Just look what that ballpark was over the past 5 home games and why they're 5-0 there. That thing is incredible. Like that park and that energy is better than any baseball scenario, any baseball situation. And a lot of it is, that you didn't have as many season tickets this year and you got a lot of just, one-offs that just couldn't wait to celebrate their one game there. Got it all, but it doesn't matter. This town is baseball and it's baseball in the blood when the Phillies are playing that well. And he knew it. I don't know if he realized it could be this way. Now he sees it. It's going to be contagious.
Absolutely. But the one thing, a couple things. Bryce is a baseball historian. He cares about the history of it.
Yep.
And he wanted to be somewhere where history mean it. Even though, like you said, they are the losingest franchise in all professional sports.
Yeah.
He knows what Philadelphia is all about. He did his research, what have you. There's that. 2, in regards to the home field, Gene Segura even said it. He goes, look, if we're playing bad, they're not going to show up. If we're playing good, they're going to show up. Like, we're not fair weather. Like, I know it seems bandwagonish when you're not there, whatever, but we are not going to clap our hands for somebody who's not doing the job that they're supposed to do. We call it like it is. But if you perform, we're going to come there and more. Like, we're going to be there. And that's the way that this is. And the last thing about Bryce Harper, he's doing what LeBron James has wanted to do. LeBron James always tries to be the GM, and he wants to bring his friends in, and he wants to put those teams together. And the thing is, this is probably a conversation that he had with Middleton when it was towards the end of free agency that year. And, they went, the Militants flew down to him or wherever they met on the private plane. They said they had a vision talk, and you see it. And, looking at the time, like some people didn't want to pay JT, but he was like hell bent. He had them go and trade for JT. When you put $330 million in a player, the player's not going anywhere. So you better make it work with him, because if not, you just lost out on your investment. He was an investment, and he's put all these guys in place. Like, he knows Schwarber, and he brought in Kevin Long, and he brought in JT. And even though Castellanos hasn't been great, he brought in Castellanos. Like, this is what he's been wanting. This is and obviously he couldn't do it day one, but like you said, it takes time. Yeah. And what he's done is he's put this team together, and we talk about, he's really not their emotional leader when it comes to, like, he's the pep rally guy. It seems to be that Schwarber's the guy, but he's leading by his play on the field.
Oh yeah.
So, and we didn't know if we were going to get that come playoffs, because then he's faced a lot this year. He had a couple bad injuries, and he wants to be out in the field, but he's not. But playing with that arm, and even like back when he got into his hot streak earlier in the summer, when they put the RPR tendon thing or whatever they did, he was playing on fire. But then when he got hit, then it took him out. It took him a little bit to get together, but sometimes when it's meant to be, he got hot at the absolute right time, and he's putting the team on his back, and he knows this is his opportunity. And this is his opportunity to say, Nationals, I see you won without me. I'm going to win. I'm going to make it happen. And him, and the confidence of him and Reese, and we'll talk about Reese, but the confidence that he's instilled even in guys like Reese, it's a product of Harper. And it's been amazing what he's done here. So glad we get to talk about baseball still in Red October, because we've talked about this before. Red October is one of the best things that there is.
So I bought this hat from the
look at you show off.
But it was the postseason one, right? So I bought this at the Brave series. Undefeated wearing this hat. So I got to keep going. I wanted to buy the World Series one now, but I'm like, no, because like you said, Red October is special here. And I can't wait to see it going forward. But we don't even need to break down the Padres series. Right. Let's just look at Game 5. And Mark, I got to go out and play golf outing on Monday with a couple of friends that had actually went to Game 5. And they looked at me and they said, was that the best game ever in Phillies, history? And my initial reaction was no. And I mean, it is special, and there's everything about it. The rain mixed into like just going down with wild pitches, like the wrong way, like we're bad defensively, and here we go. But my first initial reaction is you can't actually sit there and say winning a World Series on your field, that's better. Like that game is better than that. So you gotta give them a weight, Game 5, right, against the Rays, and 80. And I wasn't there, but when Tug McGraw goes, his third two-inning save of the series, and clinches it at the vet, I got to put those two right there. And it gets close after that. I mean, Schilling had a shutout in the World Series. That was awesome. And we did beat the Braves in 93 in the NLCS on our field. But the history and the majestic shot that he had.
Yeah.
And I thought about the Victorino Grand Slam off Sabathia, but that wasn't it, though. I put it at 3. And I'm just curious where you put that in your Phillies history. I give the 2 World Series wins, like the clinchings.
But just because they did it right. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, 80, I wasn't even an embryo. I wasn't even a thought.
Yeah.
Here.
Not even a thought yet?
And
they weren't thinking about you?
No, they weren't thinking about me yet. And I think about that. I mean, if you have to put those 2 there, fine, by default, I get it. Even the way that we clinched in 5, like it was dramatic because it got split because it was raining.
We played from the 5th inning on. Yep.
Right, and then they played from the 5th inning, but that game itself wasn't really amazing. And you look at that Rays team that we played, and it was like Eric Hinsky, like you had Evan Longoria. There really weren't too many great players. There were good players. And it just like, because it was the Rays, to me, if I'm not putting the clinchers by default, I'm putting this game because of the dramatics, the way that they got there, the way that they done it. To me, I'm putting this up there. Like this is the stuff that you make movies about.
No, I like the answer, but the question is, when you say up there, where? And that's why I said I put it at 3 overall, and I almost put it. Yeah, put it 1. I'll be honest with you, I almost put Game 4 higher. Down 4-0 in the first inning and have to climb back. So listen,
and they came back a couple times. I know this one to me is the clincher to go into the World Series, and it was so storybook because the thing is, like, you're down 4-0, you tie it. You go down 6-4, you tie it, then you bust it open. Like, and I get that, but to me, because it was just like an offensive juggernaut. This had everything you could want. It had the drama. It had the weather. It had everything. I mean, the moonshot. Like, to me, this
wasn't Game 4 the Profar check swing, or was that 3?
4.
Yeah. No, it was 3. It was the 4-3 game.
Was it?
Yeah, it was the 4-3 game. Yep. Now I think about it.
Okay, yeah, because it was close at the end. They were trying to come back.
Because this one, that one they won 8-6, right?
10-6.
10-6. Yeah.
Because Schwarber hit a home run, JT hit a home run. Like, once they were going away.
Man, it's complete magic. And listen, I mean, we kind of had this feeling once we got one in San Diego. We even said it on the air. You got Game 2. We kind of gave, like, in a way, kind of gave it to you. That's fine. We were up 4-0. Again, we were up 4-0.
It was the same situation as Atlanta, and I said I hope history repeats itself, and it did. Yeah,
and not only that, we paid them back in Game 4 what they did to us in Game 2. Up 4-0, exactly. You finally feel great.
It's one of those things where it feels like there's a cloud and this whole feeling over it, like there's something more coming. Like I don't want to get there. I don't want to like put
let it loose.
I'm just saying, like, it seems like destiny. Like, I don't know. We'll see, obviously. Yep. Houston's a very good team, but also we thought Atlanta was better than us. San Diego was better than us. But look.
And those teams might be. They might. And I wouldn't want more that. But when we can play at this penultimate level, and there's a lot of reason that getting to the playoffs was probably the hardest thing for the Phillies.
Yes.
And once they were in, it's like, wow, 9-2 in the playoffs, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, it was so hard to get there because of the Harper, the Wheelers, the Nolas, even the Eflins. I throw Castellanos and Schwarber aside. I mean, signing them added weight, don't get me wrong, but there was weight already here. And Middleton too, and then firing Girardi. There's just all this pressure. And then when they got there, it's just like, I can play baseball. Yeah. And this is the team we thought, like, we said it all year long. Like, I didn't waver off anything. I thought they were a playoff team all year long. And could I have said, like, I put a small futures bet at 24-1 that they'd win the World Series, and it'll be fun if it hits. But don't get me wrong, it's not. If I was confident, it'd be a lot higher. Like I have on the Eagles.
Right.
It's just they're a team that almost like the hardest thing for them to do was just get in.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Right. It's about getting hot at the right time, and this is where they're at.
So let's look at the World Series ahead. We got the Houston Astros, the World Cheaters, and look, I'll take some point of me says I'm going to ignore that right now because I will use that as fuel to the fire when they come here in Philly. But for now, we're playing the game straight up, and you're going in, you're dancing against a team that is 7-0 in this new playoff format, and only new from a sense that there's a sixth playoff team in each conference. And there were some thoughts, the Braves lost because they had that rest. No, the Braves had the rest, a year before that and won. Phillies were just better. And you're looking at the number one team in the AL that has rolled to a 7-0 record. but it's been 7-0 with a couple extra inning games, a couple walk-off wins in the ninth, and a very close games in every single affair.
Yep.
You said it earlier, a very good Houston Astros team. I don't disagree, but
Right.
I also will say to you, they're not juggernauts.
They're not. They're absolutely not juggernauts. They have a lot of talent. A lot of their talent from their prior teams all went off their ways, but they had a good farm system and they've been able to bring guys back. Like you said, a lot of close games. Haven't really been able to bust the doors off of anybody, but they're getting the job done. I mean, you can't argue with 7-0. But
you can't.
Again, where the Phillies are at, they're hot at the right time. And they're just firing on all cylinders, and you're getting the performance from Hoskins. You're getting it from Harper. You're getting it from Schwarber. Like the guys, this is what they envisioned when they went into the season, and it just didn't happen. And now it's happening. It's coming to fruition here.
It absolutely is. So let's look at the real coolness about this. And there's a couple of them, but where did the Phillies play to clinch the wild card last game of the season?
Houston.
Where did they party?
Houston.
Okay. So remember that. Tuck that away for a second. Houston actually did a pretty cool thing that night because I watched it all through and through. I had shivers, just feeling that emotion again, watching them party and loving. And Houston posted something on the back and on all their jumbotrons.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Phillies, way to make the playoffs. I don't think they ever thought in the wildest scenario this was, and I thought it was a touch of class. I saw the tweet out there. I was like, "Thanks, Houston. That for all you've been through and all you've been told, that was a touch of class." I thought.
Yeah.
But sometimes you touch that class when you don't ever think that that monster in the back's ever going to come out. And break through that door. And here we are. And to be able to play these Houston Astros I also look back in 1980 when they hadn't won a World Series ever. They had one of the more classic NLCSs in the history. And some of you out there might not know, but Houston was in the NL up until probably about, I think, only 12 years ago. But they were an NL team. Hanging on NL Central with the Cardinals and such. And the Phillies had to come back from 3-1 down to win that series.
I think every game was in extra innings.
Except game one.
Yeah.
Except game one.
Game one.
It was absolutely crazy. So that broke the streak, right? That was the win they had to do to then go into the World Series and beat the Kansas City Royals. Yep.
Yes, that's correct.
And now here's Houston again in that path. And it's just there's so much, there's so many storylines, and I just think it's cool that we had to beat them with Nola almost pitching a no-hitter.
Right.
And only up with a magic number 1 with 3 games left. And then seeing Verlander and Valdez sitting there in games 161 and 162. So it's wild that we're here. It's wild that we played them. It's wild that we had to do it to break our World Series curse. And it's wild that we're playing them again.
I mean, the whole thing, the Hollywood couldn't write this.
No.
They couldn't. This is, I mean, we're watching something special, even regardless of what happens. I mean, you got to be happy with where they've gotten. Obviously, we won it all. You're here. Yep. You won it all. Nothing's guaranteed. But, I mean, what went from dread has become bedlam. It's so fantastic. It's like, I don't think the way that they were playing, none of us just saw this coming the way it was, and it just has all the fixings for an amazing World Series. I think viewership's going to be through the roof. I mean, the MLB, it seems like the playoffs were just. I'm telling you, I think I said this last week. I think expanding the playoffs only did better for the MLB. And I think it has a chance to help, because it's been on the decline. You get a team like Philadelphia in here. I think the MLB is so stoked about the way that this went.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you say nobody saw it coming. I don't disagree with that thought, but I will tell you this. We're all optimists, right? but Philly pessimists. But
Yes.
even our wildest dreams, we saw this happen, but not the way it has. Not this magical, bashing home runs, hitting eighth inning darts off a guy that never let up a home run to a left-hander all season. So just the kind of the majestic way this has happened has really been the kind of surprise to me. I'm telling you, I'm not sitting here today saying I'm not super surprised the Phillies are in the World Series. We talked about before the season, we both thought they were a playoff team. And getting in baseball, getting in the playoffs is equivalent of having a great chance of getting in the World Series.
Yes.
I'm not overly surprised in the World Series. I'm overly surprised of the way it's happened, the nature it's happened, having to go on the road every single series, having to beat very quality teams, the trade deadline champions, the Padres, the reigning World Series champions, the Atlanta Braves, and to me, the storyline champions of the season, the St. Louis Cardinals with Albert Pujols and Yadi Molina. So now we got to play, the, I guess, AL champions, and we can beat them. So let's get into the series, Mark. And the first thing I want to ask you is, are you surprised about Game 1 starting?
It makes sense that Nola is just based on rest.
Yeah.
But I think
Wheeler's on full rest.
There was enough time that you could have had Wheeler in there. You could have had him in Game 5, set up the same way that this series was. It's a little different. One, if they have the opportunity to clinch at home, you really wanted Wheeler on the mound there, but you're gonna have Nola instead. Hopefully you get good Nola, because the thing is, let's be real, his last start in San Diego
wasn't great.
He got tattooed. He couldn't locate the ball. He put the ball over the plate. Where Wheeler, either he's going to be super dominant or he's going to force them into ground outs. And, he doesn't get blown up like that. And there's just a different calm in the air when he's your guy. So you really would have preferred to have him. But I'm not surprised. I think Rob Thompson, the one thing I'll say, I really like Rob Thompson, but there's been a couple of decisions that I've had to scratch my head when it comes to, especially with pitching, about leaving guys in early. But if you look back at the Ranger Suarez game, he was pitching great and he had another inning in him, and him taking him out, I was not in favor of, because you took him out an inning too soon. You moved up all your bullpen guys an inning too soon. Luckily, I think that day was Sir Anthony pitching 2 innings, right? That wasn't. Yeah, Sir Anthony.
I think he was. Yep.
And you stretched him out a little bit, so he wasn't available the next day. Luckily, you didn't need him, and you didn't have Alvarado that same day either. But then again, luckily, you didn't need him. But then Ranger comes in and closes the game for you when Robertson can't get it done. So then you look at it, you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe if Suarez did pitch another inning, he wouldn't have brought him in that scenario. Now, I think somebody else could have done it, but you kind of felt good when you saw Suarez working in the bullpen, and he never looks phased. Even when he's getting hit, he always looks like he wants to smile. And in Topper said it. He said his heart rate might have been 63 when he got on the mound.
Yep.
So it ended up still working out. When I didn't agree with the situation, it still ended up coming back around. So maybe I need to have a little more trust in him, and that's why I'm going to go with him and be like, you know what? Nola's the starter. Let's roll.
Yeah, it's tricky because I've done a lot of MLB work all season long for Win Daily and some other spots. And I'm trying to give you the exact numbers now, but I know for a fact Nola is worse at home. And I know for a fact Wheeler's way better at home. So what you just added up is they're each going to get a road start. That didn't matter. But now you've put Nola in Game 5 and Wheeler in Game 6. He's 2 road games.
Right.
And Nola's 1-1. And that's my only one. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure I'm sold. But I do know that Nola can set the tone, right? And he did set that tone when they won that first game in Houston to get into the playoffs. So from that perspective, I also need whoever you start in Game 1, and other teams have been creative and done this, like Schilling and Bumgarner Even Scherzer pitched some bullpen in the World Series. When you start in game 1 and throw game 5 and it extends a little bit, you got that arm for the yeah. So, and it's not that I wouldn't want you probably even like I don't know you won't have Wheeler if you go 2-6, but you got Nola, and then that adds to that.
There's something different about the Wheeler versus Nola, the approach, and him coming in game 7. I agree.
Yeah, I'm okay. That and from that perspective, listen, like I thought you said something really key. We haven't all agreed with Topper's decisions.
Yeah,
but they've worked, right?
They've all worked.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go into this with. I mean, blind faith is probably the wrong answer, but
right.
I'm gonna go into this with a very open mind and 1A, 1B. They really are. They're 1A, 1B, and if you really want to get nitpicky, Nolan might have had the better of season. Not record-wise, but ERA, Ks, whip, innings pitched. So I'm good. He got a little bit ripped in San Diego, but I think those were just bad choices of pitches at the wrong time. 0-2 to his brother. You throw one high and away that speeds his bat up in the zone. Soto, you throw one 0-2 fastball, cuts too much in the zone. You know,
he just didn't locate. I mean,
yes,
he just didn't locate, and I think sometimes you just don't have it in you. For the most part, I feel like he'll have a start like that, and then he'll bounce back.
Yep,
and he'll be okay the next start. So I feel good about him going out there because I think he's going to shake off the rust. Excuse me, and Nola is better when he gets more days of rest. So I'm going to trust that he's feeling good and he's ready to go. And look, he's been one of the longest tenured guys here, as a pitcher. He's consistently been here. This is his time to shine. He, needs to make this World Series appearance, which he's never even sniffed the playoffs. Now he's starting game 1 of the World Series. Like, this is your time to prove that they made the right investment on you. And I know they didn't honestly, he has a team friendly deal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What he does. But, there's always that background chatter of, maybe do they cut ties with him? Like, he's just not getting it done. He can never get it done. And he's had some clutch pitching performances the last 2-3 months. This is the moment. This is the moment that solidifies him in Philadelphia. It means a lot, but I feel good about it.
Everything you said, I agree with. The only part that I will say that I'll add to the Wheeler scenario is you said he's better on longer rest. I think 2 to 6 gives you an extra day off. Because you have the flight between 2 and 3, and you have the flight between 5 and 6.
Correct.
That's all. You could have got more rest. And the numbers are out there that say he is a lot better. Okay. I'm good. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I'm still trusting, still good.
You have to. I mean, once you start not like if he goes against his gut, then you're changing things. You're changing the atmosphere. Again, like I said, I'm not the manager of the team. I see what I see with my eyes. I was watching with my fiance's family, and they had the same questions I did, but they still won those games. So I can't completely bash the guy. I mean, that's, I think sometimes he gets too conservative, but he knows his guys better than we do. So I just have to go with it at this point, and we have to have faith. I mean, again, 2 weeks ago, I didn't think they'd be here. They're here. All the right buttons have been pushed. That's it. I have no defense.
So that was my opening question. Game 1 starter. We got there. All right. Let me ask you this next one. So looking at the series in totality, give me a quick breakdown, and I'll start off with starting pitching. Which one has the advantage?
It's tough. I think Houston has a slight advantage, even though Verlander
0-6.
0-6. And
you knew it too. I knew it.
but he has a
That's
bad
in the
track
World
record
Series.
in the World Series. So, he's a guy who doesn't live up to the moment. I think they have solid, but it's tough though. It's tough. It's not surefire. I can't completely say. I mean, the way that our top three, Suarez has stepped up,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a landslide when it comes out. So to me, I think it's a slight edge to Houston. But Phillies bats, though, I think I don't think they're going to get shut down at all. Like, I don't think that Houston is just going to take it to us. Like, I think if the Phillies play the aggressor, which they've been doing for most of the playoffs, they're going to get to these pitchers, swing at first pitches, lots of foul offs. Like somebody like Bryson Stott has been wearing pitchers down.
Yep.
Because he, who couldn't hit a fastball earlier this year, just fights off the fastballs enough, lulls you into a breaking ball, and then he turns that into a double.
Lull might be a strong word, but I hear you. Like, somehow, some way, they give him one. I'm with you. So I will say, I'm of the opinion that the Houston staff has a significant advantage, and it's their biggest advantage in the series. That doesn't mean we can't get to them. I would say that San Diego even had an advantage in their starting pitching. So,
I mean, Snell, Musgrove, Darvish, they all had to bring them in. None of them were homegrown. They had to either trade or sign them to deals.
Right. And I think, like, looking at it, everybody said that's what San Diego's advantage was over us, was the starting pitching. And we could still get to it. So I'm not saying, like, we can't get to this. We can. But they have an advantage. And I'll give them that. And I'm looking here. I would probably give them, if I look at the next one that I was going to ask you, I would say bullpen, and I'll give them that. But again, slightly. And the only reason I'll give them bullpen, they're a little more stretched out in depth wise. I mean, we're kind of Alvarado, Dominguez, maybe Eflin. So, a little more depth there. But again, slight, because the hotness of our bullpen got to give us some advantage there. So, bullpen, I'll ask you.
Bullpen, I would agree with that as well. I do think that Houston has a slight edge. I think that, this is a Phillies bullpen that was historically bad, and they've been pitching well, but they do put you in some situations sometimes. So they have to be sharp. Like, I think it's more imperative that our bullpen is sharp, because the one thing, and again, it goes back to our hitting and what the 08 team had, and really that stretch run team. They can get to any bullpen. They can last through a good starting pitching outing, because they can beat you up 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And the way that pitchers really going 8 innings is a rarity nowadays, like, for the most part. So just get to the bullpen. I think the Phillies, once they get over seeing a starting pitcher, somebody's getting, they just need a fresh face. And I think they're able to beat up on them.
Yeah, third time around sometimes. And I mean, a few other things, obviously. But all right, now we go to offense. Who you got?
Right. If we're talking right now, I got to say Philly. I got to say we have the advantage. I mean, everybody's hitting at the right point. I mean, you're even seeing, look, you're coming into a Rhys Hoskins hot streak. This is what he is. He's always been a streaky player. It seems like 70% of the time he is, slumping big time, swinging away, everything away. But right now he's seeing the ball better. And even when he's walking and not swinging at those outside away pitches, like, it makes a complete difference. But I think the team as a whole, they're smart at bats right now, and they're hitting with power. They're putting people in position. They're moving guys. As a whole, I think the Phillies offense right now is just on another level. And I know that Houston has a couple big sluggers, but I would take Phillies offense at this moment.
I'm with you. It's just the uniqueness of the way they're paired together right now and the way they're working, and then the obvious They're hot. So I'm with you. So I'll go slight Houston starter, slight Houston bullpen, Phillies offense. I'll give you the last one. Intangibles and coaching. What do you got?
I got the Phillies. I mean, you look at it, it's right now they're working with house money, they're working with magic, they're working with continuity. They're all together in this. And I think, you think about the home field advantage. Philly compared to Houston, we got 3 games in a row. And I think that's daunting. This whole 2-3-2 setup is daunting because if Philly, which they've done in both series, both of the, extended series, you at least, and they've split both of those first 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
When you get that split and you realize you got to now play in Philadelphia for 3 straight games in a row, like back to back to back, it's waning, it's taxing on you as the visiting team.
Right.
And the fans are ravaged bulldogs here. They're on their feet every pitch. It's noise. And I mean, there's things that are outside of our control that I think is happening just with this team and the continuity. So to me, the intangibles, and again, Topper's hitting the right buttons. Until he doesn't, you got to trust him. So to me, the Phillies have the intangibles edge.
I agree. I'm the same way. Dusty Baker 0-2 in World Series. Topper never been there. And then when you look at the intangibles of the Astros have lost 2 to the NL East, both to wild card teams. They haven't really fared well against, these hot, wild card teams. We'll see. Like, I do think the Phillies just have this little. Like, I could never script this. I couldn't have scripted a Harper home run when he laid off that 1-2 pitch.
That was the pitch.
That was the pitch. That was the pitch. The changeup was so good. It was a splitter from Suarez, and to see that, and you heard his description in the dugout afterwards that he beat me with fastball back in San Diego. I was dead set on fastball. I saw it well. Like, the little things. And sure, we're hitting in game 3, the leadoff homer. Like, Hoskins hitting 2 homers in game 4. It's been a complete team effort. I'm with you, the intangibles. So I'll let you lead off here. We're only going Phillies and Eagles tonight, unfortunately. But, hey, I'm going to let you lead off. World Series prediction. Give it to me.
Phillies in 6. Phillies in 6. I think if this team is the team that we're talking about with the edge, and like I said, I don't think they're ever out when it comes to pitching, whether it's starters or the bullpen. This team is never out. I think Houston's got good players on this team, but I don't think they're playing at the level that Philly is right now. I think this is a time for Aaron Nola to shine. I think you get a good start out of him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, if he's the one who wins, because I think they split, and I think they take 2 of 3 here, and then obviously they go on and they win in Houston. It's crazy to think that they can go and win a game 6 over there. Obviously, you don't want to have to go to Houston, but because my whole thing was, I will tell you, when things were looking bad, game 5, and the thought of going back to San Diego, it really worried me because I thought if you let them get back to San Diego, you might not be coming back victorious. I think this team has faced all the obstacles, and they haven't been put in that game 6 scenario yet. So we don't even know. So at this point, I'm going to go with my gut and say that the Phillies are going to be up to the task. It's going to be a dogfight, but I like them in 6.
Yeah. There have been 2 teams, and I'll just say since 07, it might be even further back. So I guess the wild cards fan maybe in 04. But anyway, 2 teams that have gone 7-0 before they reached the World Series. Do you know who they were? It's okay if you don't. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a tough one. I would guess one of the Red Sox teams, and I don't know the other one.
All right. So one was the Colorado Rockies when they beat us in 07. And then they had to wait like a week and a half to face the Boston Red Sox.
Red Sox. Okay.
And lost.
Yeah.
Other was the Kansas City Royals in the mid-teens there when they lost in Game 7 to Bumgardner. So
that one.
two teams 7-0, two teams losing the World Series. A lot of that was based on a little bit of rest. We got about the same rest here, both won on the same day. So maybe that doesn't come into it as much. But what I will say is this team has something over them. They're special. They have bought into everything that the manager has done. They bought into everything that their leader does for them. They're loose. They find ways to play as a team. When one's down, the other one's up. Sure, what do you have? One hit in the first two series?
Yeah.
Amazing. 400, batted 400 in the NLCS was huge. Harper's been consistent the whole time. Hoskins wasn't great in the NLCS. Castellanos, the one game he's been great was the game we needed the most in the Atlanta series, Game 1. And then just the pieces, like Segura's been solid, but I just feel like they're there. It's their time. And there's a lot that can be said to a team that plays together. And not that Houston doesn't.
Right.
But they got a manager that's 0-2 in the World Series. They got a team that's been to, what is this, their fourth World Series in 6 years, I think? And they've won one. And they've won one by banging trash cans. Yeah. And then you look at that little fact that I threw out there, those two teams that were undefeated that couldn't pull it off in the World Series. It's Phillies in 6. I love that 6. And I tell you why, Mark. I'm with you 100%. The Eagles play next Thursday night in Houston against the Texans. That's the transition day between games 5 and 6. We smoked the Texans on Thursday. We closed the series out on Friday. Phillies World Series champions, and we party and have that parade on that Monday is my guess. Let them come home, let them relax. You don't do a party on you don't do a parade on Sunday. I wouldn't do it on Sunday. You could with the Eagles not playing, but
Saturday's too soon. Monday,
and it's you said a story like one that we couldn't even script, and you're so right about that. This team, I don't like to use the word destined, but this team is finding ways to win, and it's awesome. And let's go, Phils. Red October strikes, and we can't wait to break it down here next week because we'll still be alive. I'm going to guarantee you this. If it's game 5, we're either going on late or we're waiting till the Eagles-Texans game. Either one, we'll figure it out.
We will.
We'll talk it up.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into the NFL. We both have the Phillies win the World Series, which is something special. NFL. Eagles bye week. Not a whole lot to break down, but what I will say is, damn, this NFC East. Like, these Giants, they just find ways to win in the fourth quarter every week. The Cowboys, when Dak comes back, I did expect them to lose that game. I'm going to be dead honest with you. I know Detroit was a 7-point dog. They don't fumble at the goal line and Goff doesn't throw 4 interceptions, 5 turnover game. They might, because Dak just doesn't look scary anymore. But the Cowboys really good. And then Heineke pulls one out against the Packers, and the NFC East now looks like, gosh, are they the best division in football?
It's something else. I mean, the NFC East, the AFC East, the East side right now is just playing football at a different level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about it. I know I went back to the AFC East, but if Tua's not out at that time, you probably have a better Dolphins team, and the Jets are doing things. But regardless, yes, the NFC. I mean, the NFC East is something else. It's not the least anymore. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
they've made it clear. The West does not. I thought the West was going to be a juggernaut. It's not. There's a lot of things going here and there, but Eagles then make a big move, and they trade for Robert Quinn, 4th rounder.
Yeah, and I read something. You might have the exact numbers, but I read that we sent 4th rounder, no conditional now. It's just
no condition, 4th rounder, and they're paying for this year.
Yep.
We are paying the minimum. I think it's probably like $700,000 or something like that. Chicago's taking the rest, but we are on the books for his next 2 years. But either that will be something where they cut him, or they, try and bring him back. But to me, this feels like the Chris Long addition in 2017. A veteran guy, a guy who doesn't need to play every snap. He only had 1 sack this year, but he had 18 and a half or 19 and a half last year. Chicago has been a different team this year. A lot of double teams against him this year. Now that they don't really have the option to double team him. I mean, you have a stacked front line. I think this was a big addition, and I think that this makes things even more difficult. The Cowboys went out and got Jonathan Hankins, and they're like, oh, we got a run stuffer. We go out and get Robert Quinn. You see Marcus Spears on ESPN, like, you can't do anything about it. He's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yep.
So
it does feel like that. I agree. That move was fantastic. I mean, a lot of things that I've worried about with this defense has really been on the defensive line. I know Slay's tough back there. I didn't love some of the games he's been bad. He's been 10 yards off the line. I haven't loved that, but obviously Bradbury very good.
Yep.
Gardner Johnson very good. So and the linebackers, I think Edwards and White have been good. It's been that front I haven't loved. I know they had that awesome 9-8 sack game against Wentz, but that's Wentz.
That's Wentz.
Outside of that, I'm like, okay, they create pressure in there, but these gaps, I look at the Arizona game, Benjamin just running free, even Hollywood Brown catching and nobody's around.
Yeah.
And it's the defensive front that worries me once in a while. Adding Quinn is just it's huge.
Presence that they need.
And it's huge. I thought that was the one very big weakness they had, glaring weakness they had, and it was on the line. And I don't think they're done, Mark. And I know you've been tweeting it out this week. I will say this. They're going to get a running back.
Yeah.
I'm convinced it's Hunt. I don't think the price of Kamara is worth it. I don't think the Saints. So here's why I don't. And I know you put something out there about this.
No, I got murdered for it. So
no, but not even what you said about the package. I'm okay. That's irregardless, right? But more of the point is the Saints can't play to lose.
Right.
They gave us the first round pick.
Right.
And dumping that off, I just don't think they can play to lose. And I just don't think.
The one thing is, I just think that because they're in cap hell and they really
are
out of it any way that they can. That would
I guess they're going to lose their first round pick anyway. So what's it matter if it's 3, 4, or 10? I guess, I could see what you're saying.
Because they've been in cap hell for a while. Even with, getting rid of Breeze, they still.
Dead money. They're the dead money champs.
Yeah.
Every year.
So that was one thing. But it's lofty. But I just wanted to throw my 2 cents out there I had a feeling, and then it's, whatever. But I can see Hunt. I think they can do the 4th round pick, which it sounds like now that's the price for Hunt, which this offseason it was much higher, but value has gone down, and Cleveland's a loss away from being out of it, and they don't want to have to pay that anymore. But the other thing is maybe they take a flyer on Cam Akers for really cheap, whether it's going to, to me, I think it's one of those two. I know Madison's name has come back up again, not connected to the Eagles, but it's come back up again. But
I'm okay with Akers. The only thing, and here's what I said about Akers, Florida State guy, so I know him pretty well. He's in a situation where he wants the ball and he's actually being benched because his personality is not fitting there right now.
Yeah.
He ain't get the ball here.
Right.
So I'd probably steer away. Mattinson would fit in great because, again, he's not getting the ball because Cook's there, but he would get maybe a little more here. That's nice, and he's more of that power style, a little bit bigger. But in the end, Hunt mix as well. Kamara would be the number one, but what do you do with Sanders? And Sanders, I get it. Here's what you do with Sanders. You tell him to share and see you later next year because he's on the last year deal. Exactly. I get it.
Right.
But, hey, I don't think they're done, and this is Howie being Howie, and I love it, and I love it, and I love it. He is smelling. It was just like that year, like you said. Long, I think, was signed before the season, but still, it's very similar.
It has that same veteran presence, can get after the quarterback,
Yes.
can cause pressure,
But
and it only needs 20 snaps a game to be impactful.
Yes, but the key was that year was the big deal at the time to get Jay Ajayi. And I mean, that was huge for us.
Yeah.
He didn't really make, I mean, he couldn't play in the Super Bowl, I think, but it was enough to really just give us that punch we needed to put us over the top. And he sees it and he smells it and he's ready to do that. So, awesome. Only other thing I want to do before we get into our prediction for this game, upcoming with the Steelers, is a lot going on in the NFL. Giants made a trade today.
They did.
I actually texted a couple of my Giants fans. I was like, you just did an Eagles trade. And I kind of dig it. They're like, yeah, but we need a wide receiver. But I was like, yeah, but you don't need him. He was toxic.
Yeah.
You're winning without him.
Right.
So I was just curious, what you thought about that move. And if he's Kadarius Toney we're talking about,
Yes.
it's even going to be a factor for the Chiefs. I mean, Andy Reid loves getting these problem childs.
Right. He really does. I think it actually benefits them. Pat Mahomes tweeted out, I think it was Undertaker eyes. It might have been, was it the Undertaker or something like that?
Yeah, they're on bye this week.
Yeah. So, he's excited about that. They haven't really gotten the production that they thought they were going to get out of Sky Moore. It's been weird. I don't think they've known how to use their receivers because they have some talent, but they just haven't been able to do it. It's worth a flyer, I think, at this point. I think it's a good move for Kansas City. Why not? At this point, you might as well try it. Giants weren't. Giants are
100%.
What?
I agree. I agree for Kansas City. I do.
Yeah.
But from the
Giants, look, they weren't using him. It wasn't happening. Wan'Dale Robinson seems like the guy who's going to catapult into that position. So honestly, I think they cut ties with he's got the talent, but it kind of was a similar Jalen Reagor type of situation, except like you said, toxic. I just don't know where his head's at. If he wants to play, then I think you'll get the results. And he knows he has to do it in Kansas City. But Brian Daboll has coached that team up good. And
yes.
I think he's fine with it. I think he's good with it. He's making something out of nothing right now. I mean, he's got Daniel Jones playing okay. And I've never thought I would say that he's okay, but he's okay. I mean, obviously a lot of that falls on Saquon. The defense has been opportunistic. So, he's kind of benefiting and then he makes plays with his feet. So
I think that's
good move for both sides, really.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it. Daniel Jones is okay. But all right, let's look to the Steelers Eagles Sunday on an off day between the World Series. So even better once again, right?
And that, again, it worked out perfect.
Yeah. I'll give the quick breakdown of what I got. Steelers are bad.
Yep.
Kenny Pickett's bad. The offensive line is bad. Najee Harris, bad. That defensive secondary, not very good either. I'm checking the numbers here, but last I checked, they got some players back there, but according to Football Outsiders, their past DVOA defensively, they overall are, sorry, this just shifted on me. They're 15th. So, I mean, they're not great past DVOA. They're better in the rush, 9th. But they're just not a good team. They can't score in the red zone. They're just, again, not good. And I think everybody knows that. I think Tomlin's taking his first L, but he'll survive. He'll play. He'll still be there next year. And the Eagles are on the up, coming off a bye week. They usually play well. Hard to really analyze off a bye week with Sirianni because it's only his second year doing that. But in the end, they're a 10.5-point favorite for a big reason. They're by far the better team. And I would imagine Quinn's going to line up or suit up this week.
Yes. He was already there. He practiced.
I think, I've seen Buffalo poured it on Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh beat Tampa, but we're watching what Tampa is. I mean, Baltimore just beat them tonight while I'm watching in the background. Tampa's bad. They're 3-5. Carolina beat Tampa. They're bad. I can't give Pittsburgh credit for that. In the end, it's 31-13 Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, for the same reasons, I feel the same way. Really, their offensive line is terrible. So Kenny Pickett's not terrible at reading defenses, and I
I
think he's
agree.
going to be okay. I know
Yeah.
you weren't shitting on him, but
Yeah.
he's going to be okay. I don't know if he'll ever be a great quarterback, but right now, with the Eagles front, I think they're going to take advantage of that line. Pittsburgh's got skill players, but again, Harris hasn't been the same. Pickett doesn't have a lot of time back there. I think the Eagles are going to take care of business. And even with like Minka Fitzpatrick back there, I know you said they were 15th in pass DVOA, but they give up so many, like fantasy wise, to receivers. They give up so many points in the passing game to wide receivers. And I think that Devontae and AJ are going to have really good weeks. I think both of them are. So with that being said, and the only thing, I don't know if he plays or not. I think there's uncertainty, but TJ Watt could be back.
Yeah, and they're better with him. Obviously, I mean, we know
They are
that.
better with him, but still, I don't think he's enough. He can't be the only person that single handedly beats us. So I think he'll cause a little bit of havoc, a little bit of pressure if he's able to play. But the thing is, like, we just saw us go against Micah Parsons, and they went at him, and he wasn't able to do anything. So I think TJ Watt being back with the way that they have to spy him on Hurts, and I think the Eagles will be fine. I think this game, when it's never, I mean, well, we did beat them 34-3 in Wentz's first year or whatever, but
Yeah.
I feel like Pittsburgh is just somebody who can just hang around. But that being said, I'm going to say 28-17 Eagles.
Okay, you're right on that 10.5 number. Nice. We're not far off. All right, let's Mark, do you have a record of our 3 packs from last week? I don't have my notes.
I know that I was 2-1.
I think I was 1-2, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. I would have to go back and look at the.
That's all good. All good. That would give you a 1-up this week, and the only reason I say that is because I'm going to let you lead it off with that.
We talk about these New York Football Giants, and they are flying out west to the Seattle Seahawks to go against the 12th man. I've been riding Seattle. Sometimes when you find a team, you ride them. I'm getting on this horse. I'm riding the Seattle Seahawks. I picked the Giants last week to beat the Jaguars, and they did so in Jacksonville. Different scenario. Again, obviously this is not the Phillies, but the whole Geno Smith factor, I think it's been a breath of fresh air, seeing what's going on in Denver with Russell Wilson and the clown show. It gets worse and worse by the week. The clown show that he's become, I did not think it was this bad. And again, I was a big Russell Wilson guy. Happy that that's happening. So with that being said, I like the Seahawks at home -3. Obviously, I wish that number were 2.5. But I will take the Seahawks -3. I'm going to keep riding them.
I got roasted one time on this show, probably 4 or 5 years ago, for not calling Russell Wilson a top 10 quarterback. I've never been a Russell Wilson guy.
Yeah.
Not only is he helping me dig out from that hole, I think I'm at the point right now where I got an army behind me. This fucking shit about him stretching 4 hours on a plane up and down
while everyone was sleeping, it's
God,
embarrassing.
You are such egomaniac's not even right word. You're just weird. You're corny. You're weird. And you know what? For that, I'll lead off with my first pick. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9:30 a.m. in London against the Denver Broncos. Like, he can't find a way to make it worse for his team. And he has to put a freaking foot in his mouth. But it doesn't matter. Like, they're trying to go over there and win some games. They also Mike Boone. Like, they're trying to figure out, are we going to go Gordon or Murray? And okay, we still got some decent
Marlon
guys.
Mack.
What's that?
Marlon Mack now.
Yeah. Right. The ex-Indianapolis Colt. But let's figure out this we're solid defensively, but no, it doesn't matter. This guy just sits there and has to make it all about him and put a spotlight on him. And for anything, this coach is a certified idiot right now. And Nathaniel Hackett, I'm talking about. And
There's
so
no
for
way
it to be
he can throw.
under a field goal, Doug Peterson's going to eat him alive. And last week, don't get me wrong, you won with the Giants is a great call. ETN doesn't fumble out of the end zone. Again, the Jaguars are up 4 going into the fourth. Like, Peterson found a way to lose that game.
And that's how the Giants have been winning.
They have
ways to win.
And T-Law is not great, but in the end, Brian Daboll is greater than signed Nathaniel Hackett, and that's why the Giants overtook the Jaguars. Ain't happening this week. I think Jaguars get a big dub overseas on the right coast. So I'll take Jaguars as my first pick of the week.
Yeah, the Jaguars trade James Robinson. They pretty much said, all right, ETN, it's your team now.
He got 80% of the snaps last week anyway, but yeah, they were already transitioning that almost as a showcase to get Robinson out. And there goes Bryce Hall getting hurt. I almost think 6th round feels a little cheap for him, but in the end, you don't have to pay him now, right? And you're getting a little bit of something. I thought it was a good deal, both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm taking a risk on this next game. Washington Commanders are at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have benched, even though it's part due to an injury. They've benched Matt Ryan for Sam Erlinger. Right? Is that how you say his name?
Ellinger, but yeah.
Ellinger, yeah.
Yeah, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns.
Yeah.
I think the Colts actually feel good about making this move. It's young blood. It's fresh blood. They have talent. Paris Campbell has been playing well. Alec Pierce has been playing well. Michael Pittman's been playing well. You're getting Jonathan Taylor back. Hopefully for him, he's able to get it together. I know that Washington, if it were Wentz, I wouldn't feel as risky about this pick. But because it's Heineke, you never know with him. He's a baller. And again, the number is -3. I will take the Indianapolis Colts here. I think they're going to play with some fire and some energy, making the move in quarterback. Again, it's a risk. But I just feel the Colts at home, and I feel like the Commanders are going nowhere. And I think that win in Green Bay probably took a lot out of them. So I like the Colts here at home.
I'm feeling you. Ellinger, for you guys that play DFS, is one of my favorite plays this week at 4K. That's like unheard of for a starting quarterback. So I do think he's not awesome. He's not great, but in the end, Matt Ryan was atrocious. So I think he's going to put up some numbers. I like that pick. I'm going to go to a game that's in a dome this week and a team that you've kind of liked at parts this year. I won't say every, but I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions +3.5 against the Miami Dolphins, and I will take the Lions. Listen, game one, they played 3 games at home this year. Game one, they lost the Eagles by 3, 38-35, 73 total points. The next one, they beat Washington by 9, 36-27, 63 total points, so 73-63. Follow me here. Then they played Seattle Seahawks at home and lose by 3, 48-45, 93 total points. This game is going over.
They score at home.
They score at home and they let up a lot of points at home. So 63, 73, 93. Let me find a number that's 83. Lions win this one. I don't know. 43-40.
Yeah.
It's going to be a shootout, but I just think they stayed within 3 with the Eagles. They stayed within 3 with the Seahawks, even though they were favored. And they beat the Commanders when they were favored. So at home so far, 2-1 covering the spread. Been within the number. 2, I'm still not convinced. People told me the other day, he looked better. Dude, he still missed. Like, Tyreek Hill was running wide open. I could have thrown it far enough. And he can't. He just – I'm not convinced. Goff is awful. I get it, but they play a little better at home. I'll take the Detroit Lions.
I'll be honest. When I was looking at that game, I would have went the Miami side, just with Tua another week healthy. But I get it. It makes sense. And, a home dog, the way that the Lions play at home, you have, they lost St. Brown. I think that was a big part of them last week, too.
But it was like a fake one, right?
It was a fake one because he didn't actually have a concussion, but just because of the signs.
Yep.
So if they have him healthy, I think that changes their pass game. I believe DeAndre Swift is practicing this week.
He is. Yep.
So if he gets on the field, that changes things. As good as Jamal Williams has been, he's better off as a complement to DeAndre Swift. We saw what DeAndre Swift did against us. Against that Miami Dolphins defense, I think he would have a field day. So I actually, now looking at it, I would probably lean that way too. But looking at this earlier tonight and I was considering it, I would have went Miami, but I think that's a good pick. I'm going to finish off with the Green Bay Packers at the Buffalo Bills. The line I saw was plus 10.5. Packers, Bills minus 10.5. It's a lot of points. Packers are down bad. I mean, here's the thing. The wheels are probably about to fall off for the Packers because I think this game is around this number anyway. But I feel like Rodgers just finds enough in him to just keep it somewhat close. I'm not saying it's an outright win at all. The Bills are obviously a much better team. But, I mean, if you get – I mean, don't get me wrong. The Bills are good. But if you're Rodgers and the Packers and the way you've been playing and losing to the Commanders, losing to the Giants, like, you have to go put some effort out there. I think he just has enough in his bag to keep this like a touchdown game. I think it could be a high-scoring game. I think they rely on Aaron Jones. So to me, I'm gonna, AJ Dillon has not been able to be that complement player this year. And Sammy Watkins has a chance to take a bigger role with this team. We'll see. But I like the Packers at plus 10.5 in Buffalo.
I don't hate it.
It's not great. It's not great.
But
the past couple of weeks, the slates have been a little tougher to pick. So to me, this is just something where I think the Bills can't win by that much, but they did this last year too, where they did like 3 games in a row where they won 40-3. So
yeah. All right, I'm going to go to my last one. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals plus 3.5 at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings 5-1. I did look. I'll toot the horn a little bit, play the flute. I did think they'd win the NFC North this year, just because Green Bay couldn't go 13-3 4 or 5 straight years.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean I think Minnesota's any good at 5-1, and they're not. I mean, they've been winning some games this year. They're coming off the bye week, which is great for them. But at home this year, they are 4-0. But some of those, they had to scrape out a game against Chicago. They had to scrape out a game against Detroit, and then one was in London that they had to scrape out with a double doink. Arizona's better on the road. D-Hop back now, got 48% of the targets last week. That was the most for a receiver in the NFL last week. It kind of makes, I'm not huge on Murray, but it makes his game a little bit more whole. And obviously it showed last week with the big win they had on Thursday Night Football. Getting away from, a medium home field advantage, going on the road, playing a Minnesota team, yes, coming off a bye, but I'll take the extra hook. I like the Cardinals on the road, 3.5 this week. James Conner may be coming back too. I think that plays into it. So I'm an anti-Cardinals guy, but I think this is a good spot. They had a good spot earlier this year out in Las Vegas where they came back from 20-0 at half. They don't score anything in the first, but don't worry about that. I think they can stay close enough and cover this one.
When I was looking at this one, I was considering this too, and I was on the same side as you, thinking, because you Cardinals plus 3.5, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I could see Minnesota winning this, but just etching it out.
I agree, and I think you got a little bit of Cardinal hate out there, and I agree with the Cardinal hate.
Yeah,
and then you see the 5-1 on the Minnesota, but they're not that good. They really aren't. They're okay, but remember what they did when they came here. We absolutely punched them in the face.
Right.
I get it was 24-0. No, 24-8 at half. Nobody scored in the second half, but the game was never close.
Right.
All right, man. I think that gives us some Eagles picks. We're both on the same side, both double-digit victory. Our 3 packs, and also the Phillies World Series prediction. We will get into a lot more next week. Obviously, Flyers playing great. What a win tonight against the Panthers. Yeah. I mean, Tortorella's just been – it's hard to say, but he's just been great so far. And we talked earlier. First 10 games, they could come out and surprise. It's really the next 20 after that. Right. And that's what I'm going to be looking at. But they are playing some really good, inspired hockey, and they're sitting there at 5-2, leading the Metropolitan Division. Sixers 1-4, awful, but we can get into that a little bit more next week, hopefully, when the things start to I don't know. I went to the game against the Spurs last Saturday. I heard a lot of fire Doc. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait and see
I'll wait on it.
But
the seat's getting hot. It's getting toasty. It's winter morning. It's 30 degrees outside. You get into your car and you press that seat warmer button. It's starting to get toasty. It's getting toasty, but that's it. You're not there. You're not the burning yourself part yet, but it's getting toasty.
And there's a recipe in Philadelphia right now for firing someone a little earlier.
Take a look at the bank.
Look at it. All right, Mark, I can't wait to talk more about these Phillies and the Red October next Wednesday. Maybe, just maybe we're already talking to World Series champ. If not, we'll adjust and we'll definitely talk on Thursday. Whatever it is, we are Philly 4 for 4 plus so much more. Fourth and Go on the Heat Ratio Sports Network. I'm Dave Gluckner. That's Mark Tomasini. Please give us a like. Please hit the follow button for Heat Ratio Sports. And watch us on Twitter. We're very active, and we'd love to talk to you and engage in this magical time in Philadelphia sports. Until next week, I'm Dave. That's Mark, and we're out.
We're out.